Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the show with no name. And today I'm actually the show with no name and no co-host. Adaire is at another event today, so I'm flying solo, but it's payback next week because I'll be on the road hitting the highway and she'll be traveling solo, or she'll be flying solo while I'm traveling next week. So I'll get her back then, so that's all good. Now, this week on the show with no name, so for those of you who aren't familiar with the show with no name, Adaire and I put this show together, this weekly broadcast together to help promote the amazing things that people are doing for charities, not-for-profits, and to help their community, whether it be to raise awareness for a cause or just to help somebody who really needs something in their community. Because you help one person in the community, you end up helping the community on the whole. And we just like to share people out there because, you know, when someone does something and then they're being cheered on by everyone else, it does help them finish their, reach their goals and whatever it is that they're aiming to achieve. So this week, we're excited to bring back Steve Taylor. Now, we premiered a broadcast last week that we did with Steve Taylor a few months ago. Now, he's a gentleman all the way over from the UK who's doing amazing things to raise awareness and funds for neuroblastoma charities all over the world. And more recently, he did a ride around Australia for Neuroblastoma Australia. He's a veteran of all things running. Steve also rides a bike, which is how he came to the attention of Australians, and it's how I initially met him as well online. So in 2013, at the age of 60 and armed with just a folding bike and a bus pass, Steve started cycling backwards and forwards to his work on his folding bike to raise money and awareness for kids diagnosed with high-risk stage 4 neuroblastoma in the UK. 5 years later, Steve came to Australia to ride from Brisbane to Adelaide for Neuroblastoma Australia, 2,222 kilometres, which he duly knocked off in 15 days. Steve was known as Forrest Gump on wheels. He's now on foot and walking 2,222 miles by the end of this year, convincing some others to join him for the ride. So welcome, Steve. Thank you so much for coming along, and you're crazy enough to do it again.
Yeah, well, here we are again. We're back.
Back again.
3 months of doing nothing, sitting on my backside and drinking beer, and here we go again.
Here we go again. You're sitting on your backside talking to me, drinking wine, I believe.
Yeah,
now, for those of you playing at home, it's a reasonable hour for Steve. He's not sitting at home drinking at 9:30 in the morning. So tell us a little bit about where you are.
Well, everyone said when I got back from Oz that I should just take a rest, and I came back with a couple of injuries and things, so I did exactly what people said. Oh, Dennis the cat has just come in, so you might see Dennis in a minute.
Yeah, Dennis can join in.
Dennis will be with us in a minute. So
we can work with children and animals. It's all good.
I did nothing for 3 months, and then the pounds started to pile on, and I thought, well, I'm not going to go back on the bike because I've done that and I can't replicate what I did before. And people always say you should never go back. So I thought, well, what can I do? Well, I can walk, and then so I started doing a bit of walking in the middle of December. Let me just shut this door again. Cat's gone out. I started doing a bit of walking in the middle of December, and all my good ideas tend to come when I'm out doing stuff. So if I'm on the bike or, I'm running or cycling or walking, that's when the ideas come. And I started toying with this 2-2-2-2 thing. I know you're big on twos, right? You love twos.
I do.
Number. And I was trying to work, and I'm walking, right? And I'm calculating how many steps could I walk? Could I walk 2 million steps in a year? And I looked at that and thought, no, that's just ridiculous miles a day. So I can't do that. And then I thought, well, can I walk 2,222 kilometers because, it's the Aussie thing. I wanted to do fundraising for Neuroblastoma Australia. And I thought, could I walk 2,222 kilometers in the year?
So you had to put it in terms that we understand down here.
Yeah. But, that only comes out at 1,400 miles. Well, it's 1,380.6, I think. And that wasn't enough as a challenge. What you want is something that's right out there, but it's just about achievable. You know where I'm coming from? It's you think you can do it, and then you start and you think, actually, this is not as easy as I expected it would be. And when you're on that fine boundary of what's just about possible, that's what makes it interesting. So 1,480, so 1,380 miles just wasn't enough. So I thought, okay, it's just going to have to be 2,222 miles then. So to people watching this in the UK, that's 6 miles a day, 6.1.
To those watching in Australia now, that is, now I had to do the conversion here, that's 3,575 kilometres. Well, it's close to 3,576. Let's just round it up because we're talking about, 40 centimetres. That's crazy.
Yeah, I suppose it is, but it's achievable with a positive mindset.
And
there is
support.
only one way you can do this, and that is total commitment. You've got to organize your life around these 6 miles a day. You've got to get them in somewhere. So it's, I walk at 3.25 miles an hour. So I've got to somehow commit 2 hours a day to doing this. And in a sense, it's easy because I work from home. But last week I was down in Liverpool. I worked from home for some people down in Liverpool. And so I was staying in a hotel in the middle of town. And the GP practice where I was working is nearly 7 miles out of town. So the natural thing to do, of course, would be to jump on the bus or the train. But no, this thing demands total commitment. So I was leaving the hotel at the back of 6 in the morning in the pitch black on roads that I didn't know, walking by the googly man, and he told me how to get to work. So I walked into work, and by the time I got there, I'd done my miles for the day. And you just got to do that. You just got to get up first thing in the morning and get some miles in.
Yeah, and make that commitment. And it is a commitment, and it's also same as anything. I mean, you've got the drive behind you that you're doing it for a cause. So when you make that kind of commitment for something, it's almost like you don't want to fail them.
Absolutely.
So that does give you that drive to move forward and keep doing what it is that you're working towards.
Yeah. But you're doing this as well, aren't you? You said you were doing this.
Yeah, and I need to get my skates on, my shoes, whatever. I have been walking, but not enough to cover. So I need to put in a couple of 12-kilometre walks to make up some time. But I can do that. I do that anyway. Well, I do 11 Ks mostly when I'm walking from home and just going for a walk.
But you can home in on 2 kilometres, and that's only.
So I can shave. So I can shave 1,000 Ks off, 1,700 off.
Yeah.
If I'm only doing it in kilometres, I'm sitting here thinking I've got to do 3,500 Ks.
Well, you've seen that you know about the Walk to Cure group on Facebook.
Yes,
and
I should do. I'm in it.
Yeah, and so I stuck a spreadsheet on there on Sunday night. I like spreadsheets. I like numbers, and that spreadsheet allows you to play with your schedule. It allows you to see what will happen if you do this and if you do that.
So I should have known that you'd put a spreadsheet up. I haven't seen that one.
So you can download it. You see, you can download it, and then you put you can log your miles or your kilometers, and you put your own target in, and then it works it all out. And you also put the steps in as well, because like I've never counted steps before. This is a new thing, and it's kind of different, But on Sunday, I was walking along the beach, and there was an absolutely howling wind, and it was freezing. I was walking along the beach, and I went through my 222,222th step.
222th, not your 22nd, your 22th.
Yeah. I'm at 290,000 just now.
Wow. And that's since the 1st of January? Is that when you started recording?
Yeah. I'm averaging about 18,100 a day just now. So they'd say the average, so everybody who's wearing their Fitbits or their Garmins or whatever they wear, the preset for most people is 10,000 steps a day. So you're doing almost double what most people's daily goal is. Yeah,
Pardon?
I do 10,000 before breakfast.
Yeah, you eat that for breakfast.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, right, this isn't just me. There are about a dozen of us doing this. And that is the really fun thing about Walk to Cure. It's not the guy that used to do the bike. There are people, there's you in Adelaide, there's Paul in Brisbane, and we've got about 10 in and around Glasgow. All people are doing it, you know?
We've got Team Fisher watching. So Team Fisher, are they joining us on the walk?
Yeah, and Andy posted up some pictures of his walk at lunchtime today. He was walking it looked like he was walking along the River Adaire. Andy works in Ayr, about 20 miles down the coast. And you know, Andy's really grasping this now because he walked 9 miles today. He did 9 miles on Monday. And he, you know, he's not the only one. There are people out there that are just saying, I can do this. It's fantastic. I don't feel now that it's just me, which when I was on the bike, you know, sometimes
it was
lonely.
Yeah. And you can cheer Steve on. So now I've put the link up above in the blurb to this, to the Walk to Cure Neuroblastoma group. So join the group. You can see what everyone's doing in there. Join in the walk yourself. If you can't commit for, 2,222 miles, we have said, as long as somewhere you can work the number 22 in there, it can be 522 miles for all Steve cares. It's all. Now, explain to everyone the significance of the number 2s with neuroblastoma.
Yes, well, 2 is the most common age of diagnosis. And 50% of kids that are diagnosed don't make it. They don't make it past the first round of treatment. And of those that are lucky enough to survive the first round of treatment, maybe 3/4 of those will not make the second round if they relapse. It's the most devastating solid tumor cancer under 5. And there's currently no cure. There are treatments, but there's no cure. And, well, that's what we're trying to change.
Yeah. So with so 2, so that's the significance of the number 2, and which is why we get excited when we see the number 2 everywhere. And then the 2,222 kilometers you did, it was almost by chance, being the 2222 there, almost. You did end up changing your starting point to make it work out.
Yeah, it was always Brisbane to Adelaide because Paul, my support guy, stays in Brisbane, and you guys who supported me all the way through the 45,000 odd miles that I cycled over here, you all stay in Adelaide. And then Lucy, who is the president of Neuroblastoma Australia, she asked if we could incorporate 2s into the distance. And we were going to go around the coast initially, and that was too far. But if we went across the outback, we could get it to 2,200 kilometers. So then it was just a case of messing with the route and putting extra little loops on and just tinkering about with it. And we did get it to 2,200. Take
a couple dirt roads to add a couple of Ks.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually what we did do. But you know, I'm coming back, don't you? I'm coming back in May, and I'm flying out on the 2nd. So that's a 2 as well.
I did know you were coming back because we were trying to work out when we could get you to watch a footy match at Adelaide Oval.
Correct.
Aussie,
Yeah.
not Aussie rules match.
The reason I'm coming back is because I'm going to walk around Kangaroo Island with Jimmy Harrington on the weekend.
Now I've not met Jimmy. I think he's somebody else we need to speak to. So he's done amazing things as well. And he's a big part of your story too.
He's in Europe just now. And we had hoped that Jimmy was going to be staying with us next weekend, but he's going to be in Ireland. So I'm kind of happy that Jimmy's going to Ireland because it's a fantastic place. But it would have been nice if he'd come to Glasgow, but we'll get him the next time. But he and I are walking. Yeah, we're walking around Kangaroo Island.
Now, when it comes to finding a cure, research costs money.
Correct.
So research costs money. So now your walk, posting all over social media helps with raising awareness, but that doesn't find a cure. So just same as anything, research costs money. Now you've come up with a really cool way to help people raise some money. And I've seen people share photos of things that they've found on the streets on their way. And I've started looking on my walks. I'm started looking for shrapnel and things on the streets that people have dropped.
Yeah. We call it trash cash.
You call it what, sorry?
Trash cash. Trash cash.
Trash cash.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. You got it.
So when you're on your walk, for anybody else who wants to join in, now again, if you can't commit to the 2,222 kilometres or miles, there are other ways you can get involved. You can still work out you might find it in your steps, or you might find it in some other way. You'll commit to it in some other way, or you can just donate money to support those who are doing it. And if you join the Walk for Neuroblastoma group, the link is above in the blurb. Walk, the number 2, Cure Neuroblastoma. You can find all the details in there of where you can donate, how you can join in, and just cheer everyone else along, because sometimes you might get up in the morning and think, oh, my thighs are sore or my calves hurt or whatever, and sometimes a positive comment just helps you remember why you're doing something and give you the push to keep on going.
Yes. Now, that is all very true. And my fundraising will be going to Neuroblastoma Australia, because that's latterly where the fundraising went to for Ride to Cure from Brisbane to Adelaide. And Neuroblastoma Australia fund the Kids Cancer Institute in Sydney directly, and they are heavily into lab research for a cure. So that's where my money goes, or will be going. But a lot of the other people that are doing it in Glasgow, they will be putting it to solving kids' cancer. And ultimately, that's where I started, because the wee boy Oscar Knox, whose dad is a Celtic football supporter, wee Oscar was diagnosed 2, 3, around that age. And he was one of the kids that I was aware of when I started the journey. So a lot of the other guys that are doing it in and around the Glasgow area, they're all putting their money into the Oscar Knox Fund, and that goes to solving kids' cancer in the UK. And they're also into sort of clinical trials and, trying to find a cure over here. But there's an interesting story which I haven't shared on social media.
So we've heard it here first.
Yeah, you are going to hear it here first. In my day job, I do researchy type work. I'm the data man for some medical practices. And I have a special interest, of course, in kids' cancer. So I have developed a screening app. It's not an app. It doesn't run on phones. Shouldn't call it an app. Let's call it a piece of software. And it screens for the classic symptoms of kids' cancer. It's stuff like night sweats, swollen tummy, joint pains, walking pains, headaches, vision problems, fatigue, blurred vision. There are almost 20 of these clusters of symptoms. And, you know, when a kid is not, oh, and another one, a big one, is that the parent is concerned, you see. So you imagine that you're a parent of a 2-year-old and you take your child to see the doctor. And maybe your practice has got 6 or 7 doctors because it's quite a busy practice with maybe, you know, 7,000 or 8,000 patients. And you're backwards and forwards with your child, and you see different doctors each time because that's just the way it is. And what my software does, it scans on an ongoing basis for clusters of these symptoms in kids. And it presents a report to be reviewed weekly, monthly, whatever period the practice wants. It allows clinicians to eyeball those patients who have been multiple times over a short period of time. So, for example, I look back 9 months. My software looks back 9 months. And if a kid has been in 5 times with different symptoms off this list, then that child will be redlined, and the clinicians round the table will be able to say, hang on a minute, okay, you saw the child then, I saw the child then, you saw the child then, maybe we should do some more investigation. Now, that's not a cure. It's not a cure, but what that is doing is joining the dots and potentially allowing diagnosis to be made a lot earlier than it would be by normal means.
Yeah, and early diagnosis with any cancer can be the key to a successful treatment or otherwise.
Yeah. So I've been to 3 kids' funerals in the last 18 months. And the one question that keeps coming up with bereaved parents is, why did I not spot it earlier? How, you know, what did I miss? And that's a really hard question for the parents have to answer, and they shouldn't be asking themselves anyway, but it's a hard one. And what this does, it joins the dots, and if there is something there, it helps to find it, and then it allows the people that know to do their work.
Wow, that's awesome. So you've been working on that piece of software platform, whatever you want to call it, currently. So is that in beta testing at the moment, or?
It's about to go into testing. Yeah, it's going to be road tested locally. Well, not locally where I stay, but locally where I work. And it's really a no-brainer because at the end of the day, it's helping people.
Yeah.
You know.
And like you said, that is a hard question to ask. Whenever something happens in people's lives with illness, with serious illness, life-threatening illness, you always go through the what ifs. And you might think back to a symptom that you saw in someone but thought nothing of it because it could have just been a cold or whatever. Yeah. And the natural thing is to go through the what ifs, but people need to know that it's not their fault. There's no point going back and saying, well, if I did this, if I did that. It's just helping people from here on in and creating something that doctors can spot the potential signs before they progress to anything much bigger. That's huge.
Yeah, well, I hope so, and I hope it makes a difference.
Yeah, and so would that be connected? Would it be connected just to one practice, or could it be a national? Because some people might they might not have a GP. They might go to, say, a clinic. So I've got, for instance, I've got my GP that I go to, but it can take up to 6 weeks to go and see him. So if we can't see him, we go to another clinic.
Yeah.
So would it connect clinics together, or would it be up to you to say, I have been to that clinic, and then the doctor can request records?
Currently, it works within one, what you would call clinic. It works within one clinic. But it's only bounded by where the data lives. If clinics are linked and they have a shared data source on one platform, then it will work across 2 practices or multiple practices. So it really depends how those practices have got their data set up. If they're satellites, then you are down to 1 clinic only. But if they share a common data center, then you have the potential. But what's really interesting about what happened in the NHS in 2018 is we moved over from what used to be called the read codes to use the international standard, which is called SNOMED CT, SNOMED clinical terms. And I don't want to bore you all, but whereas the read codes was just one big list of 350,000 codes that all meant something, they weren't related in any way. They were just a sort of hierarchy. But SNOMED CT is a fully relational database of clinical terms. And a child symptom, I don't mean a child as in a child, I mean a token of information.
Yeah.
A child token of information can have multiple parents, and those parents can have multiple parents. So you have the potential to interlink all these comorbidities, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet of the potential for diagnosing things with symptoms, if you get the drift.
Yeah, absolutely. And early diagnosis is key for any illness, whether it be cancer or anything else. Early diagnosis can be the difference between, for illnesses where there is a cure, it can mean the difference between a cure or a lifetime of dealing with other symptoms because, it's affected another organ or whatever. Or in the case of cancer, effective treatment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing. You must be so proud of that.
Well, it's not so much that I'm proud. I just enjoy what I do. I mean, I was supposed to have retired last year because I'll be 66 in a few weeks. And I thought,
you can't retire at 66. You've got to retire at 222.
Well,
there's life in you yet.
Yeah, well, it's funny to say that because I was working in a place called Ipswich, which is about 50 miles from London, about 10 years ago, 15 years ago maybe. And I was in this pub with one of the other guys that I was working with on location. And there were these, how should we call them, traveling people in the pub. And one of them did palm reading, sort of fortune telling and all that stuff. So she read my palm. It's this palm here. Now, I had an operation on this palm a long time ago, 40 years ago. So it's got some scars on it. And she was drunk. This lady was drunk. So she wasn't so much confused as quite excited at the marks on my thing. Anyway, to cut a long story short, she said I was going to live to be 137. That was the focus of this story. So I always tell people that I'm going to live to 137 anyway. So I'm not even halfway there yet.
No, well, and interestingly, 1 + 3 + 7 is 11. We're into 11s and 22s and multiples of 11. So,
well, there you go.
It's the 11-11 effect.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now we are just about out of time. I do want to thank you for your time. I know it was 11 o'clock your time when you jumped on for this interview. I do appreciate you switching up and staying up late with the help of some, what have you got there? You've got some Coonawarra Estate wine in that glass of yours, I believe.
Yeah, bottle of your stuff. There's still some
fabulous.
There's still some in the bottom, so I'll be up for another half an hour yet while I finish that off.
Well, that's it. There's no such thing as leftover wine.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Here's Dennis.
Dennis the Menace. He was well behaved.
Yeah, this is Dennis the Menace.
No, I'm not a fan of cats, but Dennis the Menace is a good-looking cat.
He's lovely. He's lovely. He doesn't know what this is all about. He spends half his day sat on my lap while I'm working. See, that's Dennis.
Wanting cuddles. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for everything you're doing. Now, I think it's another just amazing thing that you're doing this. You know, you're over in the UK, you're doing this for Neuroblastoma Australia. I know they showed you the world of support when you were here as well, which helps. Which helps. So throw your support as Steve's way, join the group. So search on Facebook. There is a link above, but if you're watching and you just want to type away, search for Walk, the number 2, Cure Neuroblastoma. It's a group. It's a public group, so you can still share posts out of there to help raise awareness. And so join the group and either join the walk or support in some other way. Donate some money. Now, Andrew Fisher did raise a good point before. He said you can walk 2,222 Ks, or just ask for a $22.22 donation.
Now, if you're doing trash cash, if you're a trash cash player, as most of us are that are doing the walk, the challenge there is to find £22.22 on the streets while you're doing the walking. And if you're in Oz, it would be $22.22.
Well, you're not finding 22 cents here. You'd have to find someone's credit card to get the 20, or a blank check to get the 22 cents out. But we could make it $22 or whatever.
I'm doing right. I'm on £4.19 and I've only been going 16 days.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah. I found 50.
Well, 20. We are out of time. I'll drop you in the broadcast so you can continue drinking that wine, but don't hang up on me yet. I'll be back to you in a minute. So, oh my God, we love chatting to people who are doing amazing things like Steve for any cause or charity. So if you have a story you'd like to share about something that you're doing or someone that you know, get in touch with either Adaire Palmer or myself. Our links are above, or you can send a private message to the Mytimetv.live page as well, which is where we're broadcasting from. And we'd love to speak to you. Thank you again for joining us today, Steve Taylor. Always a pleasure hearing about what you're doing for such an amazing cause. Bye for now.